Hello, it's Monday, June 17, 2024. It's about a quarter after 8 a.m. Eastern. And it's interesting, they have not fallen back too much so far in the pre market. They've been hanging around the gap left over from last week, last Friday. And really, when you zoom out and you look at the large picture, the weekly, the monthly charts, they look very bullish. Everything looks bullish, but this still makes me wonder if the destination is higher. I have another way of calculating numbers. It kind of gives me a larger macro view. And there are some numbers actually above 550. Let's say they spike 550. I mean, they could come up short and not ever make it there, but it just really looks like that's the target because we have 2 more weeks for this month before the month closes and the quarter closes. And also this week is the expiration of the front month, the current contract. So looked at the volume and it's pretty much the same up through the regular session, but in the pre-market, they have picked up volume in the upcoming session, the September session. So I'll be trading most likely the ESU contract. U is for September, starting today, most likely. Expires this Friday. I'm just going to try to trade conservatively today. Actually, one thing I haven't looked at is see if there's any data releases. I'll take a look at that really fast. Nothing that it looks really important until tomorrow. There's 8:30 retail sales numbers coming out, but on Monday, today, shouldn't be anything too unusual, but anything can happen. The market has a way, especially the futures have a way of surprising you sometimes. But they're grinding higher on low volume. Doesn't appear to be very much institutional participation. The big guys aren't trading in bulk, in high volume, lot sizes. So this thing is just being driven by amateurs, most likely. Anyway, but it is what it is. Let's just take what they give us. So we'll come back to this chart after the market closes, take a look at all the trades taken, if we're anywhere hit, any of the trades in the E-minis, if any of these levels in the spiders were hit. We will see you then. Well, today was an interesting day. It's after 7 p.m. now, so off the charts. Let's get this in line so we can focus on what the spiders did. Nothing down here mattered. They never went really much lower from where they opened, and they shot up today. There is some recording of some trades, and I just want to talk through a few things before we go to the recording. So there were trades, very good trades actually, before they got to this zone here. So let's just think through what was happening. Spiders came up into 542.74. I'll adjust this to 542.69 operating level. I was in this trade, and as I mentioned this morning and several other times before, like last week in different recap videos, that they're poised to go higher. The writing's on the wall. Everything looks bullish. Is 550 the destination? Well, this morning I went short 3 here and just kind of got eked out a little bit because I really wanted to be on the long side. And this worked, but I jumped out too prematurely. Just trusting these levels does work the majority of the time, but I'd just rather be on the long side. So I ended up riding a longer trade up. You'll see this in a minute. But I did take this trade here for a few points short at 543.91. And when they got up to this zone here, I had to stop it at 12:30. And the way they were behaving at this point kind of made me think, and something I was going to mention now, there's been a couple comments about me doing live streaming at some point where I would, be live trading and you could see my trades and I'll talk through things. I have a different idea to start with, but man, if I were doing some type of live stream today where I knew I had traders kind of depending or at least paying attention to what I was saying, I would have been screaming, don't take this zone here. Not just because I had to shut down at 12:30 and head to an appointment, I was away for the rest of the afternoon, but because of the way they're behaving. It was very low institutional participation. There was no professionals taking profits at this point, and the way they're going at this point, there's no reason that they weren't headed toward a higher destination, 550 or higher. We'll see. And so I would have been basically screaming, don't trust this zone. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and look at the recording of the 3 trades, because I took one kind of creative liberty that gave me a few more points, and we'll talk through that then. Just to set the stage here, it's 10:08 a.m. at this point, almost 10:09, and this is sped up to 16x, so it's pretty fast. I'm going to start playing this. You'll see me put the order in to go short at 542.69, and I went short 3. I really should have been more conservative because, like I said, just in my mind, I was thinking they're going higher, and I want to be on the long side today, if anything, but This trade would have worked out if I just held on to it and played by the rules, but they came close a couple times. And by the way, just want to point out, I'm looking over here. This is kind of my analysis. They did not come anywhere close enough. I mean, there was in the neighborhood, almost in the neighborhood, I should say, of where this would be what I would call a near miss when they come back up into the entry point. But I just had kind of cold feet, if you will, and jumped out and had no real reason to jump out. The fumble threshold, which you saw on the board earlier, was up here somewhere, and they never got up there, and there was no indication, just adhering strictly to the rules, that this would not have worked out. But you saw me jump out. It was a $120 loss at that point, just a little bit. Not very much, not many ticks or points or so on 3 contracts, but they end up coming down and would have given the trade. In fact, I even put this line back up on there just to kind of give me an idea of where they were. There we go. That would have been the trade if I'd stayed in it. But started out the day with started out the day in the red a little bit, but let's keep going. I'll show you what happened. So at this point, I'm considering this level satisfied. Clearly, playing by the rules, this would have worked, and I hope those of you who used this level for trades made something. And they continued higher. So we'll move along to the next level. They got up to, here we go. I'm just going to let this go. 543.91. And at this point, I'm willing to trust the process, but I just took, I think, 3 points or so off on a couple contracts. And let's see when they hit this. This is also just sticking to the rules. We have short 2 contracts, and I'm looking for 3 points. Is that what that was? It was less than 4. By the way, notice that I'm trading the September contract at this point. No reason you shouldn't be making the switch at this point right now. And there we go. So got those points, and they continued higher, and now they're coming up into this zone. So let me back up and show you. Okay, you saw me enter this trade. So this is still sped up, and I went ahead and slowed it down as they got toward the end of this trade because I'm seeing things develop, right? And I realized, you know what? I really want to be on the long side. When I had this little pullback here, there's a couple things that developed. There's something that is spelled out pretty well, I think. At least I like to think it's spelled out pretty well in the course I'm developing, where the chart paints a picture that really does a good job showing you where time and price converge. Well, this was one of those times. So just wanted to be on the long side. So I bought 1 contract just to see. You see what I did here? I put a stop limit, trailing stop here, and a target up here. Want to be out before this. Not that because I think they're going to necessarily react at this point. I don't know yet, but I just have a pretty good feel that if they get above this certain convergence of time and price, they're going to shoot up. So that's why I bought when I did a little bit lower. So I'm trailing this, knowing full well that if they come back down, I'm going to take that loss, give it maybe a 5 point or so, 8, 7, whatever it was. It was enough trailer based on the price action at that point where I thought I could be safe. I just wanted to just leave this alone. I'm just going to continue to work on a few things, keep an eye on this as it's happening. And as it gets close to the profit target, this video will slow down to real time. I may need to kind of manually scrub ahead a little bit if it's too slow, just to kind of, so you can kind of visualize this in real time, and you see what I'm seeing while I'm in this trade. So at this point, I'm happy to take whatever they give me at this point. I had a pretty good feeling they were going to go higher once they got above that 549. Sorry, once they got above that 543.91 and this pattern that was developing, and they did, and they shot up pretty soon here. Let's see, what time was it? And remember, I had to stop at 12:30, but I let this go as long as I could. And they were up into this zone by then, and I would have been basically screaming to not make this trade at all. All right, we're at real time here. I'm going to go ahead and scrub ahead here. When I get close, then I'll let it play. Okay, let me back up. There we go. So it happened pretty fast. A little bit too fast if I had this video sped up 16x like the rest of it. So they got up and pulled me up higher. Of course, I canceled the stop limit, trailing stop there. And as they got up into this zone here, I don't touch it. So I just want to show you here, as proof that in real time here, I'm just looking at this and I'm not entering any trades at this point, just because I have a feeling that once they kind of breached the all-time highs, they were going to continue higher and not take a pause in this zone here. So for anyone who had this zone in the morning. I hope you didn't take the trade. I don't know if you know what to look for at this point, but really the writing was on the wall for me to not mess around with this trade or to these levels. I did not take any trades for the rest of the day. So there they go. I'm just going to move this ahead a little bit. So you just keep an idea on just keep an eye on the clock on the lower right-hand corner. And I'm just moving ahead kind of slowly here. This is recorded in real time. I'm playing back this in real time, but I'm just moving ahead just so you can see what they did. They did not react to this level. So that was the right move to not trust this, but we'll show you what happened if you would say went short right at this level and went short right at this level, because you would have been, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. The rules are if the fumble signal doesn't materialize before you get to the next level, then go short again in this case. You're expecting a reaction. So it would not have been that pretty. And they continued higher, and I let this go to right. So, 230 or so, right at 230, and I stopped this and let them climb higher. I had an appointment and didn't come back to this until after the market was closed. Now, let's take a look at the trades back on the 1 minute chart of what would have happened if you had gone short up here. So it would have looked like this. So here's the zone, the dashed lines. So first of all, you would have sold short. Let's say you sold 2 contracts short here. Well, before anything would have happened, you would have sold 2 more here because they just kept climbing higher and averaged in. So your average is 544.95. And what would have happened is now you have this new fumble threshold, which is the red line. Never got close to providing a base hit on this. And they got above it. And up here, this 554.80 is where you would have reversed. So yeah, you would have withstood a little bit, but that's 8.5 points you would have lost. And then it would have given you a base hit on 4 points or whatever you could have withstood. I mean, there's no levels up here that I had for today. So there are some above 550 and above, by the way. So you would have got back 4 points, just strictly adhering to the rules. Give back 8.5, regain 4, a little bit of a wash, but it wouldn't have been all that good. And, depending on what you were able to do in the morning, if these are playing by the rules, that's 4 points. That's 4 points. But the zone was no good for a lot of reasons based on the behavior of the market at the time they were getting up into it. I wish I could have told you guys this. And I think there will be a time soon when on the subscription of the daily levels, that service, when it's available, that I can be available for that type of thing if you're interested. All right, let's jump to the log and talk about how this all translated into profits and or losses today, depending on what you did. So playing by the rules, you would have had a base hit on the first 2 levels if you sold short at the bottom of that range or that zone. You would have averaged in. So here's what it would have looked like. You would have had an 8.5 point fumble, as we discussed, on that combined position, which is 17 points, depending on, if you're trading 2 contracts. It doesn't matter the number of contracts, but that doubles. If you could do the math, it'll make sense. And then a base hit on reversal of also double that. So this is what the numbers look like in terms of number of contracts. So you would have ended in the red, but you would essentially wash out what you gained. So it would have been kind of a bummer considering it was a good day to be long all day long. Mine was a little different. My base hit wasn't quite a base hit. I'll just let you read this if you want. I got a loss on the first because I jumped out. I think that's the entire thing right there. With 3 contracts, I got 3 3/4 points. With 2 contracts, the next level, didn't take any other trades up here that were hit. But what I did, I just added another 7 1/4 point with 1 contract when I wrote it up. Net around 8 points total, and I was $615, $600 something dollars before commissions with my average of my different trades with different position sizes. So interesting day. Still, the question remains: where's the destination? 550 or higher, or do they pull back? There was a pullback toward the end of the day before they got to 550, but still, there's no reason they can't. I have not seen any evidence of institutional participation. No major profit taking, no, say, professional activity. So let's just see what happens. We'll come back tomorrow, do this again. I'll provide the numbers in the morning to those of you who are on my list, and we'll go from there. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day.